Hello there everybody and welcome to episode 2 of my tutorial series of Avorion. I'm Icon and today we're going to transform this pitiful little brick into a real mining ship. Because look at this little thing, it's hardly getting the job done. We're really not good at anything. At this point, this ship is merely at the same status as the drone was that we began the game with. But unlike the drone, this ship has a real potential of accelerating to high speeds, and it also comes with some other benefits. So to make this ship more powerful, the first thing we're going to need are just more turrets, because without any larger amount of turrets we're not going to get anywhere. So to increase your total amount of turrets, you need to install a particular type of module. So in this episode, we're going to focus into the upgrading of the ship, and we're going to install more mining turrets, and we're going to make this thing really effective, or as effective as we can. I'm also going to dive into a couple of other aspects that we can go into during the early game. So the first thing though that comes to my mind here is I'm pressing I. I really don't have much money, so 16,000 credits aren't really much. So let's head over to the resource depot and sell our ore once more. But this time we're going to use a little bit of one of the advantages of riding a ship. So press the N button, like notification, and we once more want to travel over to the resource depot. But this time I'm going to drag and drop a little rectangle over my ship, or you can just select it by doing so in the on the list here. And now when you hover over the resource depot, you see the cursor transforms into dock. Let's just right click that and see what happens. I'll press N one more time, and now we enable the autopilot. In the last episode that wasn't possible because there is no autopilot on the drone. So a real ship comes with these benefits. So if you're lazy and you don't want to dock manually onto these things, here's your way of going towards this. Keep in mind, autopilots are always less effective and less effective than a human. That's that. They're always going to execute your commands painfully slow. For example, here, turning on the tractor and being that far away is simply unnecessary. As a human, you could really fly a lot closer towards that station, but it comes in handy in terms of automation, especially once you own more than one ship. It's really cool to just give them an autopilot order and don't worry about that anymore while you're doing, I don't know, something else. Okay, but for now, we're just going to select the resource depot. Wait one more second, and now we can sell that or trade resources one more time. And, oh, there's a delivery quest running. So if I would have had 24,000 titanium, they'd prime me a brilliant price for that. So we're going to sell off like 5,000 units of iron. I don't like to sell off all the stuff I got because you never know when you will need it. So now that we got all this out of the way, let's get over to the next station. We have to get over to the equipment dock one more time. So select your ship, check out where's the equipment dock. It's there, and now we just right click that and select the docking process. While we're traveling now, we can check out the things we want to do. So your ship, give me a sec, I want to select the equipment dock. Okay, your ship has its own menu. When you press I, you get into it. So we already checked out of this screen here in the last episode. By the way, I finally found my mistake here, so to all the viewers from the first episode, to assign a group to a gun, you need to left click it and then you just press the according number. So in this scenario, let's left click that gun and assign 3. So here, let's do this one more time. Left click, press 2. So what this does now is we can enable and disable groups of guns. So when I press 2, I can disable or enable the chain gun turret. It's just not working because I'm in the autopilot right now. But this comes in pretty handy when you want to mine asteroids and you don't want to shoot with your guns on it, or later when you want to salvage wrecks and you don't want to shoot with your other guns onto the wreck. There's a lot of other things that will come in handy here. Just wanted to update that, but that's not what we were talking about right now. The crew menu was also something we worked on last episode. This time we're going to go into the subsystems menu. So subsystems, you see we have here 3 enabled slots. And you see there's a grayed out thingy here showing that we can't get into these things there. That means we need more processing power to unlock these. What does that actually mean? Processing power, let's press B one more time, comes or grows when you have more hull power on your ship. Basically, every block that you add in does also increase your processing power to some degree. The larger the block, the more processing power, basically. So the larger your ship, the more processing power also. And as you see here, we would need to fill that bar. We would need to fill that processing power bar to reach the 4th slot at this point. But we are not there yet, and we're also not planning on expanding the ship for this episode. I just wanted to show you how to get more of these slots by basically expanding your ship. These slots are your module slots, which allow you to specialize your ship a lot more. So you can, well, let's stop the autopilot. This is miserable. I'm feeling miserable by looking at this, so let's dock our ship real quick. You see, when you're slowly I'm just tapping on W to get there real quick, and then here we go. Even the tractor beam is acting slower while you're in autopilot. So but here, for the sake of explaining something, it was really great. Don't mind that quest that I just accepted. That blinking here just made me crazy. So we're going to talk about quests on another occasion. So now let's get back into that menu. So subsystems. We're going to check out subsystems now at the equipment dock. Trade equipment. Here you see the kinds of stuff you can buy at the equipment dock. Turrets, utilities, and subsystems. So subsystems come in tons of different flavors. There's a subsystem for basically everything. Radar range, energy generation, loot collection, but also turret control. So turret control systems are what we're looking for. Items come in different rarity groups. Lowest is gray, that's petty. Then there's white, that's this one, it's common. Then there's green, uncommon, and so on and so forth. I think you can already get the idea. It's also correlating, by the way, strongly with this table of rarity here too. So what we're looking for now are turret control systems that are fitting to our needs. So as you see here, there's combat turret control systems, there's a regular turret control subsystem, and there's another combat turret control system. So there's also a third category. They're called civil turret control systems, but these lists, they refresh every now and then. For now, we're going to check out the regular turret control subsystem here. So when you install this, you gain 1 arbitrary turret slot. You can also choose to install this thing permanently, and then you'll gain another arbitrary turret slot. So we're definitely going to buy both of these. Let's see, I hope my money will last. Okay, we now have these 2 turret control subsystem thingies. So let's head over to the turrets, and let's check out if we can find any mining lasers. So right now, there's no mining laser on the market that we could afford. You don't need to buy any salvaging lasers or any of these chain guns. You're really only looking for everything that has the term mining laser in it. If it doesn't have the term mining laser in it, you don't need it. So sadly there is no turret here available for us, but we can now just press I and install that turret control subsystem. So you just drag and drop these onto these slots, and don't you worry, this is no permanent thing. You just can drag and drop these. And by the way, you're seeing here pirates are attacking the sector before we continue. If that ever happens to you, if pirates attack your sector, here you see this red blot. Just steer clear of that and run away. As long as there's lots of other blue targets here, like corvettes and all these things, the enemies will just get killed. You just need to steer clear of the trouble. If you ever are inside the trouble, just pick a random direction and press space and boost the hell out of there and wait for the NPCs to do the job. They'll almost always do it in the starting system. Okay, back to business. So now let's install both of these thingies here, and let's press B one more time. As you see here now, the number of unarmed turret slots available to us has increased. We now have 2 of 4. But since these are arbitrary turret slots, we could also choose to use these as armed turret slots or defensive turret slots. Sadly, I don't have anything I could use them for. Or, well, I do have one chain gun, but I'd really prefer a mining laser. So we'll now have to bite the bullet and travel a bit and accept that there's no gear here. That happens quite often, and don't you worry when that is the case. You just have to travel abroad a bit. So, to do so, we press M for map. So, hello there. This is the galaxy. It's looking nicer if you scroll out, and your goal is to get into the center here. There's the sweet loot. You're starting out here. And the closer you get to the center, the more dangerous things get. But we are just here starting out, and what you're looking now for are these little green dots, unknown energy signatures. They are friendly signatures too. So you see that blue outlining here, that's the area that you can jump towards to. We're just going to check out, wait a sec. Did these guys just shoot me? No. Oh, what happened here is we are running out of energy. So if that has happened because I did a little bit of a derpsy here. So back into the ship menu. These turret control subsystems cost your system energy. And as you see here, now we're using up more energy than we're producing. If we're checking this out, our system right now is not capable of handling these subsystems. So now if we check this back, everything's back to normal, nobody has to die. What we're going to do now is we're going to explore a bit and look for some opportunities. So we're going to right click this sector here and enter coordinates into a navigation computer, and you see now there's this little blue thing here. Calculating jump route, and once that you hear that bleep, you hold down the space key and jump. You have to have enough energy in your battery to get that jump going, otherwise it won't work. So we're now jumping into a empty sector because our jump range is of course quite limited right now. You can increase your jump rate or your maximum jump distance by installing various modules into your ship. That's really quite easy. So now we landed in a new sector. The first thing I like to do in a new sector is just press N and check out what's in the neighborhood. So there seems to be no enemy, but I do see a ton of asteroids. So let's press M and let's check it out. So we see when you hover over this icon here, 2,640 asteroids, and there would be another unknown energy signature down the road here. Let's mark that for a later jump. But we are now in a really sweet spot. You see there's a lot of corvettes. That cyan color, by the way, states out that they are allies. So that means if anything bad happens, you can hide behind them. A sector like these is one that I always try to find as quick as possible when I start out. Because there's no station here, as you can see. These are basically the badlands of the low-level area. And these yield a much higher density of titanium. And titanium is really your super important early game resource, because without titanium there's no power generation. You know, you've just seen that my ship was not able to use those subsystems that I bought because of a lack of energy. Without titanium, I can't change that, because without, I'd already point that out. So we're just going to mine that thing, but I want to point out one more thing here. You see that thing here? That's a beacon. Sometimes, well, let's see, we can interact with that. This just gave us a random quest. Sometimes you also find secret stashes inside inside those asteroid fields. So it's really worth it keeping an eye out for the items. By the way, your turrets are automatically trying to adjust towards the marked target. So while I still had that beacon still marked, I was not able to mine that asteroid here. So we're now going to stay in this area here for a while longer to acquire some titanium and some more much needed iron ore. The starting phase of the game is a little bit mining heavy, but you could also go down a combat way. But I personally think mining is a very good way to learn the game while not indulging yourself into too much of a problem. By the way, if you only would have found a asteroid cluster with no friendly ships in the vicinity, there's a nice trick. You can get in there and mine as much as you want to until the baddies come. What's really important is that you have already set up a jump point like I did here before the baddies show up. This way, if the pirates show up, you just steer out there, just jump onto that point and get the hell out of there. Just keep one thing in mind. The pirates then will stay in that asteroid belt. So you won't be able to jump in there to mine further until you got rid of them dudes. But since we're going to build a combat ship in a couple of episodes, I hope that's not going to take that much longer. Don't you worry if that happens to you. But for starters, if you don't happen to find a guarded asteroid belt, seriously, just go into the unguarded asteroid belt, but then focus the titanium as hard as possible, because iron is abundant everywhere. It's the titanium that you're coming for when you're going into these asteroid belts that don't come with any stations, because everything else you can acquire inside the safety zones without any problem. So I'm now going to acquire a little bit of that extra titanium and iron, and once I'm done with that, I'm going to continue the recording, because you guys don't need to watch me drilling minerals much longer than necessary, and there's nothing more to add. So let's do this. Now then, after some mining operations, I'm back at my home system, because I figured that at the equipment dock there must be new gear to check out, and we're definitely gonna do so. I have grinded up something like 5,000 iron and 2,000 titanium on the side. We now have 46,000 credits there, because I've already sold that before I went over to the equipment dock. So with these things in our pocket, we can now safely go for some shopping. By the way, check out that green mark below my battery, the yellow bar in the center lower thing. So this is what I call paddling. I just activate the boost long enough before it goes into the red. This way you gain a small slight speed boost without draining your batteries. That's better than nothing. And if you are tired like me with early game ships, you will enjoy that too. But don't you worry, our ship is going to get better than that quite soon. So here at the equipment dock, let's check it out. We can now acquire ourselves some mining lasers. Quick word about mining lasers: the higher the rarity tier, the more power they got. The numbers here are mostly misleading. There's one number though that you really want to watch out for in every mining laser, and that's the efficiency. The efficiency gives you a number about how much ore out of a asteroid will be returned by the mining operation. So here I want to have quantity over quality though, so we're going to buy ourselves, let's see if I pay that. Let's see, 43,000. Yes, I can't afford 3 turrets anyways, so we're going to buy these like that. Forgive me, I have to disable some program in the background. There we go. So we bought these 2 lasers there, and now we're sadly pretty much broke. So to change that, you can also sell some of your gear. So here I'm just going to sell away that triple chain gun that I don't need anymore. And beyond that, well, there's nothing I want to sell. But I want to have a couple of extra coins because, you know, we have to build ourselves a bit of a generator piece because you remember we were totally out of power. And generators, they not only cost titanium, they also come with a pretty steep cost of credits. So we now get to slap on that generator somewhere, pressing W to increase the dimensions. Well, this will generate enough energy for the ship. This is a little bit of a bad spot for a generator to be built. So ideally, we would be doing something like that. So you remember I built in these smart hull chunks at the rear end of the ship. I'm pressing the middle mouse button now, and first you have to select the piece you want to have, so the titanium generator. Now I'm holding down the Alt button, and now I transform this part of the ship into a generator. Boom. That's as brilliant as it is. So you can use these smart hull blocks as placeholders, basically. And this ain't ideal yet, but at least it's no generator part poking out of the surface or so, being an easy target for guns. Okay, so let's do that. Let's press I again, and you remember those turret control subsystems. Let's put them in there and check out our power protocol. So you see it's no longer negative. So what you now also can do with your subsystems is, while you're in the vicinity of an area here, this icon, you can remove permanently installed upgrades without breaking them here. Every equipment dock has these. I think every shipyard or so has these too. Pressing I one more time. Check out, if we right click that turret control system, we can install it permanently. Boom. By doing so, though, the required energy increases another time. So you gain another arbitrary turret slot, but you also double the power consumption of these. I'm going to be removing this one right now here because we don't have the necessary power to accommodate that. But the TLDR of that is you can upgrade these, you can power up these subsystems by installing them permanently, at the downside that you can only remove them without destroying them in the vicinity of these shipyards. If they are not permanently installed, you can always install or remove them accordingly if you're not in combat. I think in combat should work. So we also have here a radar booster system, but I don't want to install that because you want to have a certain difference between these two stats, because, you know, the axis between these two here is what will be filling up my battery, which I am using for zooming around. So as soon as I have enough money, I want to increase, or I want to build at least one more generator piece into that ship, because right now our power budget is a catastrophe. But enough about that. Let's press B one more time. I should have stayed there. And let's install more mining turrets. So let's select our new mining lasers, and let's just install them there. Boom. Turrets don't need any other resource except for these slots. So they don't need extra power or something like that unless they state out something specific. I don't know if there's a certain super weapon that does act out weirdly. But in general, you only need those slots that you can acquire with those subsystems. And subsystems, as you might have already thought, come in a lot of different flavors. So you can have a subsystem for basically every purpose out there. But yeah. Now we are going to upgrade our ship with this method bit by bit, because as you might already notice here, our mining power is now a lot higher than before because we doubled the amount of lasers on our ship. The next step will be now to just simply do this mining operation a while until we got enough money to afford the necessary generator upgrades and upgrade the ship even more, because you know we can permanently install these subsystems and slap on 2 more mining turrets onto that ship. That would be another increase of power that you will really notice. Basically, the more mining turrets there are on this ship, the better. Of course, you can also increase the efficiency of these ships by increasing the quality of the turrets. There's also the method of increasing the quality instead of the quantity. Ideally, you want to have as much quantity in combination with quality, of course. So that goes without saying. But at this part of the game, you'd be best off just farming out those roids until you have the necessary pennies to upgrade your ship one more time. And in the early stages of your mining career, I'd highly recommend you to not aim too much towards high quality turrets. Rather, fill your slots with white turrets as quick as possible, because the low tier turrets, the real substantial differences will happen as soon as you hit blue quality or higher. But blue quality or higher is nigh unaffordable for you at the beginning of the game. It's way better to have 6 white turrets buzzing on those asteroids instead of having 1 blue turret that's just trying to keep up. I think you get the idea. At the beginning of the game, you're really best off with preferring quantity over quality, and later on you do the exact opposite. So I, for myself, I'm going to jump over into that other roid belt that we discovered before, because there's a way higher density of asteroids there than here. And in general, I didn't really mention that in this episode before. At the beginning of the game, you really want to find some sector like I did here. Some place where you have some high asteroid density, which is even guarded by some allied ships. This is the best case scenario. If you don't find anything like that, it's okay to roam over the map and just explore. What I wanted to say is that every single one of these green dots is non-hostile. Green dot does mean there's a guaranteed no hostile location at this spot. So you will always be able to flee from these if there's anything. By the way, if you're concerned about the well-being of your ship, you will always end up in your little drone if you get blown out of your ship. So there is no such thing as dying in this game. You just lose your ship. And there's a little bit of a gadgets there to save your ship and restore it. But for the time being, if you're just paying attention, you will not need it. But pressing P and getting into your inventory here, the Q&D reconstruction kit, used near the wreckage of the destroyed craft, quickly reassembles the bound craft. So you just wait a sec. I think You don't need to bind it beforehand. You just need to use this right next to wreckage. I haven't used these on starter ships yet. This whole reconstruction system worked differently in the former version. This is Avorion 2.0 after all, so forgive me that I'm not that well informed, but in general, it's really hard to blow yourself up in the early game, as long as you just go fleeing as soon as the baddies show up. If there's no cavalry, no corvettes around, you just have to run away. If you follow these rules of thumb, you will be totally safe in the early game, and your early ship won't be blown up. If it ever will be blown up, well, you know, you can't just mine with that drone until you have money again. It's really that simple. This game has no particular pressure in that regard, but it's going to be really annoying once you lose one of those really big and costly ships, because right now this is you know, this thing here, this is not even a brick. This is really only a small piece of a way larger ship that we're going to build in another episode. So, my dear friends, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to grind up some materials in between those episodes, and I'm also going to take the liberty of upgrading this ship with some more mining turrets. I think there's not much explanation needed. I'm going to expand the power generation of that ship between episode 2 and 3 and just slap on a couple of extra turrets so we can make it more efficient. And in the next episode, I'm going to explore with you how we can automate these ships for real, so we don't have to do all this manually, because you don't have to. This is really only the beginning of the game. Later down the road, you will only go mining by yourself in really dangerous situations, or if you're just chilling out and you're in the mood to farm some and you don't want to be in any risk, then you can also go mining manually, because as in all aspects of this game, everything you do manually, you do much more efficiently than the computer, at least in the early game. I don't know how it's going to be in the later stages of the game, because the automation system has been also reworked quite heavily, and my knowledge all refers to Avorion 1.0, and there's been a lot of differences in terms of performance. I could imagine that later down the road, the AI captains could be even as performant as a human, in terms of mining at least, but I really don't know yet. Anywho, drop me your comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Leave me a thumbs up if you enjoyed. And of course, consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. There's daily content coming up from my side. All you need to do is smack that notification bell and you'll stay updated. Until then, I hope you have a very fine day and see you soon. Bye-bye.